And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. I'm your spaced out host, smAsho. We're starting things out looking at the sun at 131 angstroms here. We see some active regions, no sunspots, a bunch of filamentary activity, and some stuff going on. So let's get right into it. By the way, we are streaming live to Twitch, so thanks for everybody who tunes in there. Please leave a comment if you're in the chat. Next, looking at HelioViewer to look at the fields. There's the 171 angstroms view. There are the fields, and you see those two cycle 25 pieces of behavior going on there associated with those bright regions on the eastern portion. Next, we're going to look at some custom movies. Here is the 304 angstroms HelioViewer movie of that active region up top. And none of these things ever got named sunspots because they didn't have umbra long enough. And that's a great view right there of that active region. It actually gives you a little bit of a three-dimensional perspective there as to how dynamic and how three-dimensional the chromosphere actually is. And here's the 171 angstroms view of that same exact area. Pretty good stuff, if you ask me. And we're going to try to pick up the pace here because there's a lot of stuff to cover. Here's a 94 angstroms view also. And again, that's the SDO 48-hour movie. And for some reason it's not on loop. I don't know what's going on with it. Let's move on. KP index is at 0 currently. Let's see if it updated. Still at 0 the last 6 hours. Just updated. There you go. And have some hope, folks. Have some hope. By the way, lightning does strike twice. If you see lightning strike a location, don't assume it won't strike there again. It could be very unhelpful for you. So headed to spaceweather.com to check out the 10.7 centimeter radio flux, which is still at 70 solar flux units. Here's where stuff is in the solar system. Looks like about 2 days until a new moon. There's where things will be in 1 week here at theplanetstoday.com. And here's a star chart, and it's getting light out already because we're coming at you a little late because we've made a BitChute exclusive. We'll tell you about it later. X-ray flux is pretty much entirely flatlined over the past 2 days. And so is the proton flux, no real surprise there. Next, looking at the real-time solar wind, we see a recent phi angle shift as I did show prep, a very low solar wind density, 2.5 protons per cubic centimeter. And we just came off the highs of the solar wind, now back below 400 kilometers a second. And here's a cosmology segment for you, and we'll keep this one pretty short. Now, I went down a rabbit hole today looking at tardigrades, which are a microscopic animal, and they are quite weird. They were first named Kleinewasser bears, meaning little water bears in German, and then some Italian biologist called Lazzaro Spallanzani named them tardigrada, which means slow steppers. And quite an interesting animal to say the least. Really weird. And the interesting thing about these things is that they can survive some of the most extreme conditions that the planet has to offer, including conditions the planet doesn't have to offer, like extremely low pressure environments of space. So they're really good at handling radiation and so on, and we find them in all kinds of spots where we find extremophiles, although they're not technically considered an extremophile because they're only there because they can be, not because they want to be. In other words, they can survive these extreme environments, but they're not there because they require the extreme environments, if that makes sense. And why am I talking about this? Because I wouldn't go to Mars if you offered me a free trip. I wouldn't go to Mars if you offered me $1 million. But apparently, we're doing some gene splicing. So we may be adding some tardigrade genes to the astronauts who may be going to Mars, as tardigrade genes have already been inserted into human cells. So perhaps that's a solution to the cosmic ray flux problem of going to Mars, since it would be a one-way trip, folks. You wouldn't be returning, especially at time of solar minimum. Let's talk about a flare star. Giant star KIC 2852961 has been studied, and it's been producing some flares caused by magnetic field changes and the acceleration of electrons. So in any case, temporal variations related to the average light curve amplitude. Anyway, that one's on phys.org in the astronomy and space section. Let's go back to data. Here's the University of Michigan geospace model for magnetosphere movies. And we see a fairly weak magnetosphere here. We should see the solar wind actually start to ramp down here. Continue to ramp down, I should say. And you may see this weaken even further. I'm going to let that play through. Even though we don't see a lot of events, we just like to show this to provide a data compilation service. If you want to see this on other days, look at our older videos. We've been putting everything in playlists, slowly working on that on the channel on YouTube, and we've uploaded a BitChute early release. We'll talk about it in a minute. Here are the ground geospace magnetic perturbations, and we don't see very many during this polar excursion. And no real surprise there, not a lot of induced current or magnetic changes from the sun hitting the Earth. So here's the GOES magnetometer, and we've crossed back into the South Pole-oriented current sheet. And here's the data showing that. This is the Gong 2 top view ecliptic plane field plot, part of the National Sunspot Observatory. The data is 1 hour and 42 minutes old. And you can see the green field kind of just evaporates there. I believe that's because the northern active region, that large plage in the northeast, has affected the B field thusly. So here's what it did to the B field on the line of sight field plot. You can see the B field being pulled by that active region right there. You can see that little wobble in the B field, and that has to do with that active region. And we like to see some activity on the sun, because remember, folks, it's not only about sunspots, it's not only about solar irradiance. There's lots of variables. That's why we cover them daily. Here's the electron flux, the greater than 2 mega electron volts. Electron flux is very low, as well as the GOES electron flux. And there's the data from that. Here's the total electron content forecast. And we see quite low levels there as well, no surprise. And we'll let that play through before we take a look at 6 hours of the ionosphere. And that one is courtesy of Australian Government Bureau of Meteorology. Anyway, there's 6 hours of data on that. It's looking a little anomalous here. And we've been seeing regular anomalies at the South Atlantic anomaly. Not a real big surprise there. Let's bring up the latest image, which is from 9 o'clock UT. Again, coming at you a little late, which is why we're trying to truncate the coverage. So, going over earthquakes, we don't really see very many. It's a bit of a lull here. It looks like nothing even over a 5 magnitude. We're just going to scroll up the list. There's a deep one at Guam. It's a 4.7 magnitude at 138 kilometers. And again, we're trying to truncate the coverage a little bit today because we are late. Deep quake at Alaska at a small magnitude. Lots of stuff to do today. What's on your agenda? Please leave us a comment and let us know. Next, look at the volcanoes. We see some additions here. Etna has been doing some Strombolian eruptions, producing about a 9,000-foot ash plume there. Kluchevskoy, not sure if that's erupting or not. The volcanic ash is not identifiable in the satellite imagery. Mount Abico, erupting, flight level 16,000. Mount Ibu, flight level 6,000 there. Flight level 7,000 as Dukono explodes. Sangay explodes as well. Flight level 20,000 there. Sabancaya exploding. Flight level 24,000. Let's talk about covidiacy. Covidiates. COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2, SARS-CoV-2, coronavirus, whatever you want to call it. And let me take this opportunity to say, for you can. See ya. For all you vaccine enthusiasts, there's an article on Extreme Tech today about new human phase 2 trials in a coronavirus vaccine. Now, personally, I wouldn't even attempt to vaccinate against a thing as undeadly as this, But obviously there are reasons to vaccinate and reasons not to vaccinate. We won't get into them. But the most recent vaccine candidate, I believe, has now advanced into phase 2 human trials. Let's talk about COVIDiots. Yeah, your mask is supposed to cover your nose and mouth, by the way, folks. Are you familiar with Dr. Neil Ferguson, the originator of the model that was off by about 3 orders of magnitude about how deadly the coronavirus would be? I like him better like this. What say you? Let's talk about Pennsylvania's top COVIDiots. COVIDiot Governor Tom Wolf and COVIDiotic Physician General, former NCAA linebacker Dr. Rachel Levine. Guess what? The governor may issue all the orders he likes, but without the cooperation of the lower levels of government, which are evaporating, and the people themselves, they're toothless. So we picked up an article here from Zero Hedge, and we also linked to the petition to remove Governor Wolf from office. That's a petition to the State House of Representatives to recall Governor Tom Wolf. This COVIDiot right here. I think he'd look really cool with a purple afro. What do you think? If we could throw him out of office early, maybe he'll do it and look even more like a clown than he does now. So again, please sign the petition. We've got it all over social media. Since he's unqualified to be governor of Pennsylvania, him and his staff have demonstrated a complete lack of understanding of science and the government's limited powers. Let's talk about more COVIDiots. The Three Stooges aren't COVIDiots, even when they cross-dress. Or you could say dress in drag. Check it out. At least one strip club has reopened because it's all about masks on, clothes off. Oh my goodness. The first strip club in America reopens. Well, thank goodness. I was really concerned about that. And, wow. I don't know where it's located. Last night was crazy. We had people from Omaha, Utah, Nebraska, and South Dakota. They made the trip, Kim said. Well, congratulations. I don't know if they're going to give us the address and location of this spot, but yeah. Great. If you enjoy the content, please don't forget to press like and subscribe on YouTube. Leave us a comment. Help support the channel via our links. We've put up a BitChute early release. Terms defined, HIPAA, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. Let's see if it's processed yet. And it's ready to view over on BitChute. Yet another reason to subscribe over there. And thanks to our new subscribers, we greatly appreciate your support. We're also on Twitter. And we try to put exclusive content everywhere, including on Facebook, where we've been spending a bit of time on there lately. We're also on Minds. Thanks to all of our new subscribers over there on Minds. We really appreciate it. Please send us some tokens so we can boost our posts. And we're also on smashomash.locals.com, Dave Rubin's new social media site. So perhaps check out locals.com. It's smashomash.locals.com. We featured our thumbnail from the BitChute video and a link. Were you aware that Park Tool, shout out to Park Tool, it's a sponsor. And let's move on to weather stuff. Here's weather.gov. Oh, and the point of that was to say, follow me on Instagram as well. Lots of exclusive content there, including lovely nature photos such as this one. So we see some pretty terrible scenarios going on in the U.S. right now. All kinds of flood issues and more rain to fall. There's the weather.gov National Weather Service map, as well as an entire state of red flag warnings, practically, as well as winter weather advisories in northern Nevada. Check it out. And all those green things, those are all hydrologic warnings like floods and meltwater. So, yeah, some insult to injury happening here. And let's just take a look at the snow depth. You can see lots of snow still sitting on the ground in the U.S. And so the hydrologic outputs for these areas are going to continue for a long time. I mean, up here in Wyoming, you still got 39 inches of snow up there. And let's go back to the pressure maps, which we usually look at. Please bear with me. We are streaming the content live. All right, so here's pressure maps. We'll let this advance into the GFS. That's the blah 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 blah. That's the European forecast. Here's the GFS forecast. We don't want to take up too much time showing you both. Here's where we anticipate pressure cells to be at 12 noon tomorrow Eastern Daylight Time. And if you're wondering where we're located, it's in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. So I'm just going to rock this ahead a little bit. There's where things will be 24 hours from now, so some more heavy rains falling in the southeast, as well as over most of Idaho. There's 36 hours ahead. Very stagnant system there. And by the way, I don't know if you're aware, but we're still over 2 standard deviations above normal snowfall, just as we were in the winter of 2018 to 2019 and the winter of 2017 to 2018. So 3 years in a row with this 2 standard deviations above normal. And yeah, that's boy, the planet's so hot that there's additional snowfall. Are you aware of how planets move into a fully glaciated state? It's through snowfall. Anyway, here's the oddball jet stream. We got this powerful low pressure system over, well, I can't tell what state that is, but anyway, here's the western jets, and you can see they are all over the place, folks. Extreme meridional jet stream flow, as has been the rule in the past couple of years. Here's the eastern jets, and some extreme weather hitting southern Australia once again. Very, very cold air most likely moving in there, as we see a doubled up and tripled up jet stream all over the planet. Next, looking at the water vapor maps for Europe and Africa. There are those. Water vapor maps for the Far East and Oceania. And thanks to all of our viewers who view from this region of the world. Please leave us a comment. Let us know your location if you haven't already done so. And next, looking at lightning maps, we see quite a lot of lightning striking, both in northern Russia and around the Eastern Bloc. Let's see what's going on in the U.S. Hey, Albany. There's thunder rolling in. Anyway, check out lightningmaps.org next time you hear thunder. Next, we'll look at the U.S. Doppler radar map. And there's the current state of affairs. And some bad times striking the southeast, as they're already flooded and it continues to rain. And here's what's going on in the cloud layer. We'll skip right over that and move on to the water vapor map, which shows 3 atmospheric ponds. Pond here, a pond here, and a pond here. Atmospheric ponds, folks, which can be the headwaters of atmospheric rivers. And let's zoom in on that low pressure over Tennessee. Shout out to David Dubine. Give me a call on Skype. I haven't heard from you in way too long. Hope everything's doing okay in Tennessee, if that's where you're located. Anyway, there's that rotating low. It's being weakened by all that dry air. And that central dry air is a good thing, but the surrounding dry air is a bad thing, as it's causing it to stagnate, and it's going to cause massive flooding. Thanks to our patrons for being assistant and associate producers of the content. Patreon is the real source of funding for this channel, as YouTube strives to pay us nothing, which is why we pursued crowdfunding in the first place. We're also on Subscribestar. We're on PayPal. So please support the channel if you're able, willing, and ready. Thanks to the Smash team. Please don't forget to share the content on your social media, as we interact quite a bit on especially Facebook, but we try to spend a little bit of time on all the socials for the purpose of promoting the content. So again, please share, press like, press subscribe. Leave a comment. Tell your friends, tell your foes, tell your science nerds, tell your science noobs. And thank you for flying American Smashways. Please keep your head and arms inside of the smash plane at all times to avoid decapitation. Next, looking at the intensitygram to see a 0 sunspots. Here's a colorized magnetogram. And we see a little bit of activity rising around the equator there. 2 plages, both cycle 25 plages. This is 25 up here. This is cycle 25 down here. And this is 24 in here. As activity migrates toward the equator at solar minimum. And last but not least, let's look at one more image here, one more movie on the SDO site. How about the 193 angstroms? Again, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Remember, check us out on BitChute, as that early release will not be on YouTube yet. Remember, stare at the sun, attempt to understand the physics. Don't drink, and if you do drink, don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. May that solar wind be at your back and that covidiocy absent from your town.